But whatever you do, be the best at it. If you're a cleaner, clean better than Molly maids. And then who's to say that you can't have your own cleaning service? Oh yeah, churches are always looking for people that can clean. Maybe you could go around and find the churches that will sign a contract with you and you supply the workers and you can have your own business. Your office work ought to be of the best quality. You do your job with dignity. And look for ways not to always be the worker, but one of these days you ought to be the boss. There are only 400 and some jobs in the 400 and some players in the NBA. Now that means that only a few coming out of college are going to be a professional basketball player. But your aspirations ought to be higher than that. Maybe you ought to look for the front office or to run the team, to be the guy that hires and fires. But nobody talks about that because we just content to be the angry, grumpy person so that we can go around talking about who's holding us back and who ain't doing right. Man, you know what? 10 years from now, you'll be singing that same old sad song. So notice what the text says. Asher's father Jacob said to him, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Do you know you don't have to be a singer, you don't have to be a musician, you don't have to be a preacher to be a blessing. Maybe your ministry and your mission in life might be through food. And I tell you, every time I go downstairs, I'm thankful for the people that work in the kitchen. I go in and tell them that how much I appreciate them. Because if you don't think food is important, get hungry. And you'll be surprised at how important it is. But then when I thought about the idea of bread, I said you ought to keep in mind the importance of bread. People need bread. But the problem is too many people are trying to get their bread but get it from the wrong sources. And so when I read this text, Asher's life was tied to bread. And when I read it, I said his story taught me, number one, I can be happy. And that was a blessing by itself, that I can be happy with no money. I can be happy. I don't have to have the best car, but I can still be happy. I can be prosperous. Yeah, but I ought to always be at my best. But whatever you do, don't leave out of here today missing the true bread. While we need physical bread, don't miss the true bread. Jesus said in John chapter 6 and verse 35, I am the bread of life. And he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. When I read that Jesus was talking to a crowd that had gotten impressed by the fact that he fed 5,000 from a boy's lunch. And they were stuck on the idea of physical bread. And they were stuck on the idea of the manna that their forefathers ate in the wilderness. And they missed the idea that the true bread of heaven was not the bread in the sense of what they ate physically. The true bread of life was in the person of Jesus Christ himself. And so Jesus tried to tell them, he said, for the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven and giveth life unto the world, but they missed it. And I want you to know that even if you go out of here and be successful in business, don't miss the real bread. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. The Lord was offering himself and those that receive him by faith. It will give you a spiritual satisfaction that will never cease. Now I know why my mom and daddy would love that song that said, bread of heaven, bread of heaven, feed me until I want no more. Well, I got to leave you now, but I thought about the fact that I've eaten in a lot of places across this country. And I've had some meals that have been great. But every once in a while, I get in a place where it doesn't matter about the main course. The bread is so good. I was in a restaurant in Atlanta, and I remember that the bread was so good that they kept telling me, man, stop eating so much bread, that the real meal is coming. But the bread was so good that I got full on the bread. And when the real stuff came, I missed it. I had to ask for a box to take my food home. Well, there's one bread that you want to take with you. It's a bread that'll make you happy. It's a bread that'll make you prosperous. It's a bread that will help you to be at your best. It's the real bread of life. Well, preacher, where do I get that bread? You get it in the Bible? Can I introduce him to you? He's Matthew's Messiah and Matthew's King. He's Mark's wonder worker. He's Luke's son of God. He's John's son of God. He's the justifier in Romans. He's the sanctifier in Corinthians. He's the redeemer from the curse in Galatians. He's the fullness of the Godhead in Colossians. He's the chief shepherd in 1st and 2nd Peter. But he's the Lord of lords and the King of kings in Revelation. But I tell you, in case you didn't get that, he's my Savior, and I'm glad about it. Oh yeah, he's the one that went to Calvary. He hung, bled, and died for a wretch like you and me. But I'm glad that that wasn't the end of the story. But early, I said early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hands, and he's alive today. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me that I am his own.